What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fence. I am your host, Aaron. Today we're going to be talking about the album The Death of Me by the band Polaris. Polaris is a metalcore band from Australia. They started about 2012. This is their second studio album, and their first one came out in 2017. I am a fan of Polaris, and I have heard their first album, but I still didn't really know what to expect going into The Death of Me. But I gotta say, this is a fantastic album with amazing songwriting, extremely well written lyrics. I'm not sure how much time they spent in the studio writing this album, but it feels like an album that has a lot of effort put into it, and there's a ton of creativity. Every single song is just very unique and original in its own right. And the production on this album is extremely crisp. It's not like overly compressed, which kind of happens sometimes with albums that have this kind of more melodical kind of sound to it. A lot of times they can try and compress it to make everything just sound really clear, but when they do that, they take away the rawness and the organicness of it, and it just kind of makes it really hard to listen to. It makes it kind of hard on the ears. I feel like the vocals from Jamie Hales deserves a mention as well, because he is a fantastic vocalist, and it's really easy to kind of get mesmerized and lose his voice when you're listening to all the music that's in this album, because the music is very well written. It has fantastic arpeggios from the guitars. The drum work is absolutely amazing. It's kind of hard to hear the drums as well, but if you're paying attention, it's very easy that they stand out and they're not just simple patterns. There's a lot of effort that went into all this. Jamie Hales does all of the dirty vocals on this album, and he also shares the clean vocals with Jake Steinhauser. I'm not really sure how to say that, but both of the guys do an absolutely amazing job on the vocals, especially the clean vocals, which I'm usually not too big of a fan of in metalcore albums just because it just sounds so cheesy and cliche all the time, but in this album, they were great. My favorite song on the whole album's gotta be the opener, Pray for Rain. It does an amazing job at setting the tone and just the mood for the entire album right off the bat. And the song starts off with this kind of haunting intro with the echoey guitar, and then it segues into a super tight riff that goes into the verse. It all builds up with this catchy chorus, which has a good hook, and it has this cool arpeggio lick playing behind it, which carries on into verse number 2, which then kind of has like this mini heavy breakdown halfway through. The bridge on Pray for Rain, and honestly every single song on this album, is super melodic, and there really isn't a bad song on this album at all. I gotta warn you though, that after Pray for Rain, and Pray for Rain kinda does it a little bit, but honestly, it only happens on the songs after. I'm pretty sure every single song after it kinda does this. It gets a little kind of poppy in a way, and some of the songs seem like they're more structured for radio and mainstream metal. Like the song Vagabond, which I enjoyed a lot, specifically for the music alone. The music in it was great. But then once the chorus hits, it gets very poppy, and you could tell it's more of a radio play song, which honestly, I don't really mind that much. But listening to Polaris's older stuff, I was kind of just taken aback a little bit. I gotta admit that when the chorus came on and I heard how poppy it was, I'm like, okay, this is just a radio play song. I really wanted to not like it that much, but it was so catchy, and it was still full of emotion, and it felt original, and it gave me goosebumps. It made me feel something. So, I mean, even though it fits into criteria that I don't particularly care for, I still really enjoyed it. The same thing happened to me on the song Masochist, which I really enjoyed a lot. It's a little bit slower, and it's more eerie than Vagabond is musically, but then when the chorus comes on, it's like one of the poppiest metal songs I've ever heard, but at the same time, I found myself enjoying it. All these songs have different writing styles to them, but at the same time, they all kind of have the same kind of arpeggios playing in the background of the choruses, and it's not overdone, and it doesn't get tiring at all just because of the structures of the songs are different. But one thing I noticed, which I enjoyed a lot, are the lyrics. The lyrics in this album are phenomenal, and I think that the credit for that goes to the drummer. His name is Daniel Fernari, if I'm saying that correctly, which I'm probably am not. He wrote almost all the lyrics for this album, I believe, not all of them. And I think that's one thing that kind of helped me accept the more poppy mainstream sound that these songs had, especially when the choruses hit. Like the verses sound like just a very unique metalcore song, which is kind of dumb to say unique and metalcore in the same sentence, but the verses all have their own feel to them, like something you probably wouldn't hear on the radio. But then the chorus hits and you're like, what the hell is this? But then when you're listening to the lyrics in the chorus, you're like, man, this is freaking good. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of feel in this, especially with the vocals. And honestly, the only thing I didn't really like about this album as a whole is the mainstream play on it, which isn't really that bad, especially for people who are used to listening to like Metallica or like Slipknot and bands like that. They can jump into this band a little bit easier, but it just isn't really my cup of tea because I was kind of done listening to those bands in high school. The only songs I found myself that I really just didn't like that much, which is to say that like they weren't bad, it's just out of the whole album I really didn't find myself enjoying as much as the others, were Above My Head and Martyrs, because they just kind of took it a little bit too far into the mainstream. And I believe it was Martyrs kind of sounded more like a pop rock song in a way. And those two songs just didn't sound that original or unique to me. It felt a little bit more like they were just kind of following the trend of what you would hear on the radio. But overall, despite its poppiness, I gotta give Polaris's The Death of Me an 8.5 out of 10. Even though The Death of Me seemed like it was geared more towards a mainstream audience, at least that's how I took it. The band might have had a different idea with the album, and you guys might hear something different, but that's just how my ears interpreted it. It seemed more like a radio play kind of album more than anything else. It was still a phenomenal album, and I still enjoyed it quite a bit. And even the placement of the songs throughout the album fit perfectly. It tells a really good story, start to finish, and each song segues into the next really well. The lyrics in this album are superb, and the music is flawless. And if this is Polaris's attempt to get into a more mainstream audience and make their songs a little bit more digestible for everybody to listen to, which is a verse and chorus that's super catchy, back into another heavy verse that still holds on to its metal breakdowny kind of roots, then they're doing a good job. This was a great album to try and get them more out of the underground and more into people's ears that they probably wouldn't have listened to them before. But I want to know what you guys think. If you guys have listened to The Death of Me, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of the album. And if you haven't listened to it yet, go ahead and give a couple of songs a listen and let me know what you would rate the album. And if you guys have an album you want me to review, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is. Maybe your favorite band came out with a new album, or they released a new single and you want me to review it. Like I said, leave a comment below and I'll make it happen for you. And I have a whole list of songs and albums that I'm trying to work my way through currently because it's hard to keep up with all the albums that are coming out. But if somebody leaves a request, usually I try to put that request up at the top of the list. So it still might take me a week or maybe 1 or 2 videos to get around to it just because I've already started working on those albums. But don't lose faith. If you leave a comment letting me know what it is, don't worry, I see it and I have it on my list and I put it at the top and I'm going to get around to it. So if you don't want to miss out on it, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notified when I do upload. And like I said, it usually takes me about a week or maybe 2 or 3 videos to get around to a requested video. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Even just simply doing that helps me out a ton and I appreciate it more than you guys could know. I hope you all have a good rest of your day and I'll see you guys next time.
I was trying to make it